A very warm welcome to the first ever STIHL Timbersports Virtual Australian Championship. But what does virtual mean? Of course, we've got 12 real athletes competing in 4 different locations all across Australia, and we'll be recording all of them with identical video technology. And these videos, they will be sent to Munich, Germany, to me and our expert, Troy Mannering. Welcome, Troy. Nice to have you in the studio.
Hi, Marcus. Glad to be back again. Yeah, we're looking for a really interesting take on the STIHL Timbersports, this time the Australian Championships being virtual. We're going to see all these guys really working hard down there in split screen, and you're going to get to see the times that they have, but they don't know what time they've got, and we only get to see the times as we go along here. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see how this turns out, and yeah, it's a new way of doing things.
Yeah, these days they need new ideas, and I think that is something very special that we're looking forward to.
Yeah, I mean, Corona's made it really difficult with all the lockdowns and everything and travel restrictions, and the fact that we're still able to get a little bit of sport in here, it's great. But, you know, with all of these other things that are going on, you know, people's tensions are wound up. So,
yeah. And it's definitely very, very important to stay tolerant and to show respect. And take a look at this.
We are Timbersports.
United by passion for the sport.
And competition.
We chop down racism.
And say yes to tolerance.
Yes to tolerance.
Say ja till tolerans.
Yes to tolerance.
Yes to tolerance.
是的，理解宽容。
Powiedz tak tolerancji.
Ja zu Toleranz.
We are Timbersports.
Well, the STIHL Timbersports family is ready for tolerance and, of course, ready for the competition. So let's take a closer look at the format for tonight.
For reasons we're all aware of, the STIHL Timbersports Australian Championships can't be held in the way we all love it. Nevertheless, we have the virtual Australian Championship for all of you, and this is how it works. Over 4 days, Australia's top 12 athletes competed at 4 different locations across Australia. Starting on the 31st of October, the likes of Daniel Gurr, Josh Bakes and Cody Steers competed in Deloraine, Tasmania at the Deloraine Showgrounds. On November 5th, Brad DeLosa's private training facility saw Brad DeLosa himself competing together with David Rumer and Chris Owen in South Bowen Falls, New South Wales. Victoria followed on the 7th of November. At a training facility used by Lawrence O'Toole just outside of Melbourne, Lawrence was joined by Glenn Gillam and the reigning world and Australian champion, Braden Meyer. Finally, on Sunday the 8th of November, Queensland trio Mitch Argent, Jamie Head and Brody Dingle showed what they had at the Head family's chopping area located just outside of Brisbane in Burpengary East, Queensland. To ensure a fair competition, the wood has been produced and selected as per STIHL Timbersports regulations. All athletes took part in a wood draw via video call, and their logs were shipped to the locations ahead of the competition. All times will be captured using identical video technology at each location and are kept secret from the athletes. The video footage will be then sent to the Australian officials to analyze and record times. Despite all athletes completing all 6 disciplines, the STIHL Timbersports knockout system will still be in play. Therefore, unless the athlete advances through the rounds, their times for all disciplines may not be valid. For round 1, all 12 athletes' times are valid for the first 3 disciplines: underhand chop, stock saw, and standing block chop. Points are awarded in each discipline with 1-point increments, 1 point for 12th place up to 12 points for first place. At the end of round 1, we lose the bottom 4 athletes. Only the top 8 athletes' times will be valid for the single buck and springboard. Round 2 also has a 2-point increment system between places. At the end of the round, we lose 2 more athletes, leaving 6 for round 3, the hot saw final. Those 6 remaining athletes' times are valid and points awarded with 3-point increments. The 2020 Virtual Australian Champion is the athlete with the highest points total at the end of round 3.
A big shout out to all our athletes in Tasmania, Queensland, New South Wales, and of course Victoria. And a big shout out to all STIHL Timbersports fans in the whole of the world. Troy, shall we take a closer look at the athletes?
Absolutely. Bunch of good guys here from Australia as well.
Let's go. Here are the competitors, ladies and gentlemen.
First guy up, Daniel Gurr, and you'll see, I mean, among the guys that are competing today, he is probably the slightest, but you have to watch how accurate he is with the axe in particular on the underhand chop. This kid can swing it, absolutely.
Well, he's like a ninja.
Yeah, you could say that.
Sorry, I just said it, but it does feel like that. And of course, he's not the only one competing today, so let's take a closer look at our next athlete.
Chris Owen, and actually Daniel Gurr will be going up against Chris Owen in our first heat of the day. He's a big man. He's got plenty of power behind him, and his personal best on this particular upcoming discipline, the underhand chop, is just over 21 seconds. And we'll talk a little bit about the wood later on, but you could see here, I mean, he's got his pedigree, so he's going to be a good competition for Daniel in this first heat coming up.
Yeah, he's already got his guns out. I think this guy is ready to compete. In Heat 2, we'll be seeing Josh Bakes take on David Rumer. So Josh is next on our list.
Yeah, another guy who's a little bit slighter in stature. You know, he fits in with Daniel Gurr's weight class, so the two of them together could be a really well-matched up pairing. But Josh Bakes, you know, 15th place at the Australia's Championship in 2019, and he's had one appearance. So, you know, his pedigree is still being built. But we're going to see some interesting action from Josh Bakes.
A very talented rookie, of course. Yeah. And he will compete against this man.
David Rumer. Don't let the name fool you. He is not leaving any room at all for mistakes out there. We're going to see this guy going at it hard. And, you know, you can see there, rookie champion 2019. So he's already on his way up.
Oh, yeah, he definitely is. So we're moving on to heat number 3, where Cody Stiers will be seen. And this man is very interesting. And his weight, wow, 115 Ks.
Yeah, he's a big boy. And they call him the Cobra for the speed at which he hits with the axe. So that's a great nickname for him.
It is.
The haircut is now been changed. Unfortunately, I was hoping that we could have the Trojan lid out there today, but it's not happening. I've been informed that that is not going to be flowing, and unfortunately, no hockey hair for us on this one.
Well, that's a shame. Let's take a closer look at his competitor in that heat, and that's Jamie Head.
Jamie Head, another classic. Here you can see here, 4th place Australian Championship 2016. He's had 5 appearances there, 3 times with the team world champion. So, you know, you could tell he's got himself a lot of experience, and he's been part of a championship winning team 3 times. So, you know, he knows what to do out there, but this is about the individual tasks.
Yeah, I remember he's got that certain look when he competes. Very dangerous guy. Let's find out more about our next competitor, upcoming.
Well, Brad DeLosa,
oh, yeah.
What can you say about this guy? He is the winningest. I mean, you really can say a lot. He is the winningest Australian axeman and sawyer for timber sports, and awesome. He has a ton of experience, been around since pretty much the start of STIHL Timbersports in Australia when it started 2015. You could say 2016-17 Australian champion. His pedigree is long, so look for him to be one of the favorites here today. Absolutely.
Yeah, and Google it if you want to know more about this man, because this is going to take a few minutes. He'll be up in heat number 4 against this man here.
Brody Dingle. There's a few Dingles in the mix, not for this particular championship, but the Dingle family in general is really deep in timber sports in Australia. So you know that he has it in his mind to do well. 7th place Australian Championships 19 and back in 15, 3 appearances. So he wants to step it up a notch this time around for sure.
And then, of course, Heat 5 of the underhand chop will see this man competing.
Glenn Gillum, another member of the Chopperoos and the team world champions currently, and a guy who is known for using this massive axe for the standing block chop, which is a discipline he absolutely is a terror at for the other athletes. So keep an eye on him when it comes to the standing block or the underhand. I mean, any of the axe events for Glenn Gillum are giveaways.
I remember him walking past me and I could feel the earth move. This is true. It was like, vroom, vroom. So this man is definitely dangerous. And he will compete against this athlete.
Mitch Argent. Another man of young age, but big stature with plenty of experience. Bronze medalist at the Australian Championships in 2015, as you see on screen there, 5 appearances. 3-time team world champion with the Chopperoos.
Wow.
Again, he knows exactly what needs to be done out there, just needs to pull it through.
Well, it's 10 awesome names, but just wait for this final heat of round 1 underhand chop.
Yeah, unbelievable. Braden Meyer, the reigning world champion. I have never in my life seen anybody move an axe as fast as this guy did a few years ago. The first time I ever saw him at the Champions Trophy, and everybody was just aghast at how quickly he moved that axe, and it's only gotten faster. So
Crazy.
He's an absolute favorite here today, no doubt about it.
Unreal, this guy. And just wait for the athletes that we're going to show you now that Braden Meyer is going to be competing in the first heat against.
Junior Lawrence
Yes.
O'Toole. I mean, undoubtedly the biggest guy as far as height is concerned, the 2018 individual world champion, part of the team that won the team world championship last year, the Chopperoos. He too is an absolute beast when it comes to the competition scene, and you can see in if you go onto YouTube and look at some of the competitions, you can see he's coming from behind, and in that single block and that standing block chop, he just tears it apart. So he is a solid athlete, absolutely.
If you haven't seen this man compete, ladies and gentlemen, do it. Watch it on YouTube. This guy is absolutely amazing. But our 12 athletes, they have one goal, and that's to become the first ever virtual Australian champion of STIHL Timbersports, and how they have to compete and what the tools look like. And the first discipline, well, we'll show you right now.
Underhand chop. In the past, the underhand chop technique was used to split logs. Standing on a horizontally anchored block, the athletes cut through a 32-centimeter log. The block has to be worked from both sides. The axes used in timber sports definitely can't be bought at your local hardware store. Made from special steel, the blade is hand-sanded with an angle of 13 to 16 degrees. It's custom built and carefully adjusted for each competition. The weight is around 3 kilos and it's about 80 centimeters long. The blade is so sharp that you could shave with it.
I know this is not live, but it feels very much live because neither Troy nor me know any times, and not even the athletes. So this is going to be a big surprise for everyone. And I think it's time to start the competition. It's time to take a look at the start list. Troy Mannering, are you ready?
I am definitely ready. And there we go, underhand chop. 12 athletes, 6 heats in this first discipline in round number 1. Daniel Gurr, as we mentioned, going up against Chris Owen. Right off the hop, Daniel Gurr, from his stature, has a disadvantage because he's not as heavy. But he is, as I mentioned, very, very accurate with that axe. So we will see what kind of a difference that makes for him.
It's a bit like me taking on you.
Yeah, exactly. You have to be super accurate, and I would just have to hope I wouldn't cut my leg off or something like that, you know? And then you can see heat number 2, Bakes Rumer, and then Steers Head, Delosa Dingle. That should be an interesting one. Strongman there, Brad Delosa, and then Gillum and Argent going up against each other. Then Braden Meyer and Lawrence O'Toole rounding out that first discipline. Should be interesting to watch how how this breaks down. There's a lot of good athletes in this group. I mean, you can really say that Australia is balanced as far as their athletic, competitive timber sportsman is. I mean, it's unbelievable the talent that's coming out of this country.
So let's get it on. Let's start the first heat, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get ready for the virtual Australian champion here at the STIHL Timber Sports competition. Off we go.
So there you see Daniel Gurr, and obviously
Hi, I'm Daniel Gurr. I'm 23 years old from Deloraine, Tasmania. To be here today competing in my hometown, especially after not competing for quite a while, it's really exciting, that's for sure. It'll be interesting to see how I go. I hope that I can post a few good times and hopefully, you know, give a few of the good guys on the mainland a run for their money.
And here we have Chris
Hi, I'm
Owen.
Chris Owen. I'm 31 years old. I'm from Grafton, New South Wales. It's really good to get back. It was starting to get to the point where you start wondering how long is it going to be until we get back on the scene. I've probably done the same amount of prep as I would normally do leading into a carnival like this for this format, but I'm just missing the chopping disciplines that we normally do all year, so just had to work a little bit harder on them than I normally do.
So, as I was saying, Daniel Gurr, 175 centimeters tall, 65 kilograms, and compared to 115 kilograms and 180 centimeters tall. Yeah, there's a massive difference in the power to weight ratio here, but the accuracy is the big thing for Daniel Gurr. Let's see how he holds up against Chris Owen in this first heat. Let's get it on.
3, 2, 1, go!
Good start for both Daniel and Chris. Unfortunately, we don't have a camera angle from the front side or the back side of that block where they're hitting right now, but Chris Owen already moved over to the other side, so obviously he's been working hard to try and get those first few 4, 5, 6 hits on the back side so that he can move over to the front side quickly. Daniel Gurr, you can see how clean his cuts are, though. And wow, how close was that? Oh my goodness. It was just one small hit away for Chris Owen, and Daniel Gurr got it in a time of 22:58. So,
The cut was good. Cut is good.
judges say the cuts are good for both of these gentlemen, and it was just a last little hit mistake by Chris Owen that cost him. There you go, right there. Actually, the log is split, but he stepped off, and he has to be on to separate the log, and that was the difference maker right there. Otherwise, he might have actually been the winner, and you can see Daniel Gurr just really focusing on those big, long strokes. And there you see that accuracy. Very nice right there. So, first heat, Daniel Gurr, Chris Owen. Daniel taking this one. So, for now, he's got the 12 points locked down, but there are 10 other athletes in 4 or 5 more heats to go. Let's see how this breaks down.
My name's Josh Bakes, 23 years old, from Sheffield, Tasmania. During the COVID pandemic, I've been at home training hard, keeping it up, because I always knew we were still going to have a competition. Yeah, so moving up into the pro division now, I really do feel like I've earned my spot. I want to lay down some good times here and really show them that I do have a spot in this.
Can you just talk for us, Steve?
Camera crew ready?
Name's David Rumer, 25 years old, from the Southern Highlands of New South Wales. I haven't competed since February, so being able to get a chance to compete in a competition for this year is pretty good. Yeah, I'm happy to get a chance to compete. Being the rookie champion, sort of coming up, puts a bit of pressure on you, I think, to sort of try and prove that you're the next lot coming through. Try and push some of these older fellas out of the way, and say it's my time, you've had yours, it's my time to go now.
So Josh Bakes up against David Rumer. Josh Bakes, the rookie, coming into the pro division now. He did hold for a short time the rookie world record in the underhand chop of 15.98, but that was on a 30-centimeter block, so it was 2 centimeters smaller than what the guys are using here.
Stand to your timber.
Here we go.
3, 2, 1, go!
So Josh Bakes likes absolutely likes the axing disciplines. The axe disciplines are his favorite, where David Rumer prefers the saw disciplines, but says he can hold his own. Both of them moving over to the other side of the block fairly quickly, and their pace seems to be well matched with each other. Now it's just about a question of who's got that lucky hit to get through, and it looks, oh, I thought it was going to be Bakes, but it's Rumer at 18.99. Good time for him. And second place right there with a 28.6 for Josh Bakes. Nice step into the pro division for the young man.
The cut was good.
All right, Josh Bakes on his turn over to the front side, getting some nice big hits in there. You can see slapping out nicely, gets a good clean cut through, but he was just a hair behind David Rumer, the big man with the heavy axe. And for a guy who says he prefers the sawing disciplines, he held his own absolutely well in that underhand chop. All right, so here you see how the point system works. It's based on the times. Rumer with an 18.99 moves up into the top spot, takes over those 12 points. Josh Bakes with a 20.86, just 1.87 off the pace, gets the 11 points, and that means Gurr and Owen move down 2 spots to 3 and 4 respectively. Let's get into our next heat.
I'm Cody Steers, 25 years old, and I'm from Sheffield, Tasmania. Yeah, pretty excited to be back into the timber sports with a bit of a delay, but it's always good to get back into it for sure. Not knowing the times, it's a bit of a game changer, I suppose. Generally, you know, at the timber sports, you're backstage and you're looking at all the times and working out where you're going to be, especially with the point system. Let me know when you're ready, mate.
My name's Jamie Head, I'm 34 and I'm from Burpengary, Queensland. Yeah, I'm really keen. We haven't had a cut since March, so you know, keen to get back out there and try and blow a few cobwebs out. Not knowing the times, I don't think it's going to worry me too much. Like, you know, if you've had a good cut or a bad cut, and you can only control what you can do, so it's no point worrying about what everyone else is doing.
So Cody Steers and Jamie Head, a couple of guys that are pretty well matched up there. I'm curious to see how Cody Steers, with his nickname the Cobra for his quick strikes on the underhand chop, will be doing in the underhand here against Jamie.
3, 2, 1, go!
Jamie, a consistent top-tier athlete in Steel Timber Sports, and you can see there, Steers already quick with that axe and all moved over to the other side so fast. Jamie Head now joining him, but Steers definitely has the advantage. It's all about the big hits and the power for Jamie Head, but wow, what a time for Cody Steers, 15.55. That will put him in first place with a bullet. Jamie Head dropping it at 22.81.
Cut is good.
Cut is good.
So we have good cuts for both of the guys here. And there you can see Jamie Head switching over to the other side. He was just taking those big power strokes at that block. Finally gets through it, but unfortunately his time just wasn't a match for Cody Steers, the Cobra. Great nickname. I love it. It's fantastic. So there you see Cody Steers moving up into the lead with a solid 3.44 second difference ahead of David Rumer, who has now moved into second place. Josh Bakes, Daniel Gurr in third and fourth. Jamie Head with his time slips into fifth place, and that pushes Owen down into sixth.
G'day, I'm Brad DeLosa. I'm 43 from Lithgow, New South Wales. Yeah, I had a good break. I didn't do a great deal of training in that time, but yeah, the last sort of month or so I've been back into it, and yeah, really enjoying it. So yeah, looking forward to getting out and giving it a bit of a crack. probably coming in a little bit underdone, you know, because we haven't had any pre-competitions. But yeah, certainly looking forward to getting out there and getting into it again.
I'm Brody Dingle, 31, I'm from Eidsvold, Queensland. Yeah, any time to get a go at STIHL Timbersports event's great, and particularly this year being a COVID year, it's our first event since March, so yeah, I'm pretty anxious and a little bit nervous, but it should be good. Competing without a crowd, something that I'm actually a little bit worried about. I really like a crowd and an atmosphere and a bit of music. I sort of feed on that a bit, so yeah, not having that this year is going to be a different mindset.
Brad DeLosa, the legend, up against Brody Dingle, the dark horse here for me, as well as for many others. Consistent across all of the disciplines, was 6th in this discipline back in 2019, so he'll be looking to place middle of the pack again today and try and stay in the mix to get to the next round. Brad DeLosa, well, you don't need to say much about this guy. He's just solid when it comes to timber sports in general. Here we go.
Go!
Wow, these guys are in sync with their hits here. Dingle now picking up the pace a little bit. Brad DeLosa going for those nice, heavy, accurate shots. Brad is moving over to the other side, just a hair ahead of Dingle. And Dingle keeping up that pace. Now Brad DeLosa has picked up the pace on the backside of his block. Will he get through before Dingle will? Yes, he will, at 21:30 and a 22:68 for Dingle. And that means 4th and 6th positions, respectively, for those two gentlemen. So Dingle in 6th at the moment is just two spots of leeway there for making it into the next round, but there's 2 disciplines still to come. So let's see how things pan out as we go through our last 2 heats. Let's take a look at these one more time in slow-mo. You can see there a nice drop by Brad DeLosa as he steps down. He's looking calm, cool, and confident. Really nice hits from Dingle there. First 2 on that one side, then slapping out, moving over to the other side. Oh, he got his axe caught, and that caused him a little bit of a delay as he takes out our camera on the way over. Good thing Boomer wasn't there, otherwise he would have probably broken a hand or something. All right, so yeah, that time of 15:55 keeps Cody Steers at the top of the ranking so far. DeLosa in 4th. And Dingle in 6th. He's a little bit lower than middle of the pack in this first discipline, so he'll want to pick up the pace in the next 2 disciplines. But we've still got 2 more heats to go with Glenn Gillum and Mitch Argent.
G'day, Glenn Gillum here, 37 years of age, come from Toongabbie, Victoria. First time to cut in the competition for a while, how would you say? Glad to be back, out of the paddock, out of the tractor seat, so just looking forward to having a day off. Today will be interesting, no competitors beside us for the first time, so it's just a do or die event, and at the end of the day, we'll just see what happens. I'll just do the same thing today like I normally do, just go out and be me.
Hi, I'm Mitch Argent, 26, from Blackbuck, Queensland. Yeah, first chop shit's smart, so definitely good to get back into it after COVID, and hopefully it kicks off again and we can continue competing. You know, it's probably going to feel more like a training run than a competition, but at the end of the day, it's still pretty fair dinkum. So yeah, I'll see how we go when we get out there, I suppose.
So both of these gentlemen are members of the Chopperoos team, and they do have a standing rivalry for the underhand chop between them. Glenn Gillum has the bragging rights, having had the better times up till this point. Mitch Argent will definitely want to make a comeback here and try and take those rights away from Glenn.
Go!
Big stick for both of these guys right off the hop, but then Glenn Gillum gets the action going. Oh, he sticks again. That's tough with that axe moving as quickly as was. He was wanting to get it back moving again, and Mitch Argent moves to the other side. Glenn Gillum moving that axe quickly again. It looks like he has the advantage here, and he's going to get through in a 15.76. Still a little bit slower than top spot, but he has second place locked down. Mitch Argent with a nice time of 19.11 will sit in 4th place.
Cut is good.
The cut is good.
Yeah, there. I believe we're looking at Mitch Argent's feet there as he steps down. Is that Mitch? Yes, it is. So not a bad time for him. Glenn Gillam, meanwhile, wow, he was just attacking that log. Were it not for a couple of sticks, there's one right there, he might have been even quicker and taking over the top spot, but Glenn is going to be sitting in second place so far in underhand chop when we look at that ranking board. And there you go. Steer still at the top with 15:55, but Glenn Gillam just 21 hundredths of a second behind him. And Mitch Argens moved into fourth place, pushing everybody else down a notch. And that means we have one more heat to go between Braden Meyer and Lawrence O'Toole, couple of world champions going head-to-head with each other.
I'm Braden Meyer from Broadford, Victoria, and I'm 25 years of age. I'm really excited for this event this weekend. We haven't chopped for 6 or 8 months now, and probably my real big chop was at the World Championships last year, so it's exciting to be here and hopefully we can have a good day. Yeah, it's going to be a different feeling competing with no crowds and a different feeling for this event. Yeah, it's going to be different, but we'll make the most of it.
My name's Lawrence O'Toole. I'm 39 years old from Doncaster, Victoria. Yeah, it's great to be back on the competition field. It's been a while off. I've sort of been really looking forward to it. I think my strategy will remain the same. You know, you can only do what you can do, and I know my ability and I know how I can perform, so I'm pretty confident that, you know, that won't change anything for me.
Well, what can you say about a couple of world champions in the individual discipline other than this is going to be a heat for the ages? Personal best for Braden Meyer happens to also be a world record in the underhand chop that he set back in 2015 in Poland.
Stand to
that doesn't
your
mean
timber.
that Lawrence O'Toole is any
3,
slouch when it comes to this discipline. It's just the faster axe speed of Braden Meyer. And you can see right away, for every single hit from Lawrence O'Toole, we have 2.5 from Braden Meyer. And Meyer's already moved over to the other side of the block. I don't think we're going to see any world records drop here today because the wood is a little bit harder, but it is a quick one for Braden Meyer. 14:37, he takes over the top spot. Lawrence O'Toole with a 16:20 is moved into fourth place, pushing everybody down. Great heat right there. And that means it's going to be the Cobra and Braden Meyer in the top 2 spots there. And I guess we're going to have a look back to see what those two guys look like compared to each other. There you see Lawrence O'Toole. He's a big man at 195 centimeters, so 1.95 meters tall. So he's got lots of distance from when that axe head swings down to gain some speed and power. And, you know, like I said, he's no slouch with these axe disciplines, but Braden Meyer, I mean, the speed at which he moves that axe head is just, I don't know. There's no other word than lightning fast. So Braden Meyer moves into the top spot with a 14:37. Cody Steers still with a great time of 15:55, and you can see a 1.18 second differential between those two. And we'll have a side-by-side comparison of those two guys shortly. But unbelievable. Great speed by Braden Meyer, even with the harder wood. Fantastic.
Are you kidding me? What a start in this STIHL Timbersports Virtual Australian Championship. What a first round. I mean, I can't believe it. I mean, Troy, I've seen you get excited, but I was like, I don't believe it. It was unreal. It was absolutely fantastic. And I think we should take a closer look at the top 2 in comparison. And hopefully, Troy, you're going to join in on this one.
Oh, you know it.
Let's go for it.
Try and shut me up. Here we go. Let's see the side-by-sides on these guys. So there you see.
I can't believe the speed. I mean,
both
the axis up, down, unreal.
Yeah, but you can see how quickly that axe is moving from Braden Meyer. And I mean, Cody is not that far behind in axe speed. And you can see it was just 2 hits difference. I don't think that was Cody, actually. That was, yeah, it was Cody Steers. Yeah. So, I mean, the two of them are really, really evenly matched as far as that. But as if you're going to get right down to the brass tacks, there's just no one on the planet that has a faster axe than Braden Meyer. It's Yeah, I don't know if anybody is going to be able to keep up with him.
Oh, that's the secret. It's the axe that's so fast, not the arms and the hands.
Yeah, I think the head of the axe is hollow or something. I have no idea how he.
We need to take a closer look at that axe.
Yeah.
That is absolutely crazy. But that was only discipline 1 as we move on to stock saw and everything you need to know about the tool and the discipline. Well, it's coming up right now for your entertainment.
Stock saw. After the starting shot, the contestants have to cut 2 wooden discs, so-called cookies, within a 10-centimeter mark, one downward and one upward. The attempt is only valid when both discs have been cut off completely and within the marks. The STIHL MS661CM stock saw is used in STIHL Timbersports as the ultimate test of operator's skill. Designed for the toughest jobs in forestry, it produces approximately 7.3 horsepower, has a displacement of 91.1 cc, and weighs 7.4 kilograms. To ensure evenly and fairly matched saws, professional STIHL technicians prepare and test the saws before each competition.
I hope you guys at home are ready for stock saw. Here is the starting order. So we got David Rumer take on Josh Bakes in heat number 1, followed by Cody Steers and Chris Owen in heat 2. Heat 3 consists of Glenn Gillum and Brody Dingle. In heat number 4, we'll get to see Daniel Gurr and Mitch Argent. Heat 5, Lawrence O'Toole taking on Jamie Head. And in Heat 6, it will be Braden Meyer and Brad DeLosa. Can't wait for stock saw to start. Take over, Mr. Expert.
I love it, expert. That's
so
far off the mark, but I'll take it. All right. So there you see David Rumer. And he admittedly says he's not the strongest when it comes to the stock saw. He's been training a lot with Brad DeLosa to try and improve his stock saw. And he's about 2 seconds off the pace of everybody else in the competition. Josh Bakes, he's pretty much in the mix here. Also, as a rookie, he needs to take steps to improve every step of the way. So let's see how this goes. Saws are warmed up and running. And these are the standard saws you can get off the shelf in stock saw, hence the name, and here we go. Josh Bakes looks like he's got a good flow going on that first cut. Now on the upstroke, got to make sure you don't cut those lines. And David Rumer, interesting, he is opting to go back to the top for his second cookie. Now I don't know if that was because he cut through the line or if something else happened there. Let's see. Yep, he obviously didn't have a complete cookie on his first cut. And you could see his nerves really getting the better of him as he took a long time to get 2 complete cookies onto the floor. And that's the main thing. You got to have 2 complete cookies, and you can't go over the line, and we have a DQ there. So
the cut is good.
So Josh Bakes had a very good down and upstroke, not a lot of downswing. We'll take a look at this in review again. Right there. He saw that come outside of the disc or the cookie, so he started again and then had to restart after that. Didn't feel good about that cookie at all. So David Rumer needs to go back to the drawing board. Meanwhile, Cody Bakes, or Josh Bakes, excuse me. There was a solid first cut right there. We didn't get to see the upswing on the change, but it was pretty good. So Josh Bakes with a 14:05. That's the time to beat for the moment. And a DQ for David Rumer. And then we'll take a look at the overall rankings now that the points have been added up. And there you see Josh Bakes will take over the top spot for the moment, having 18 points total. David Rumer will have to settle for the 8 points that he got in the first discipline. And we go to heat number 2 with Cody Steers and Chris Owen. Steers is another youngster who hasn't quite mastered the stock saw discipline, ranked 11th and looking to improve here. Chris Owen, on the other hand, ranked 7th in Australia. And yeah, his personal best there, 1260. These guys aren't too far apart from each other in their personal best. So let's see how this one goes down today between these two. Oh, a little bit of a bobble there by Steers as he finally gets a grip on the handle. And he's got a quick downstroke even with the mistakes. Steers looking very good. Owen managed to get back on the upstroke, and it looks like he might break through faster. Yeah, 15:28 by Owen and a 15:51 by Steers. Some good times for both of them, personal bests. So that is a solid showing. Let's see if the judges say they're okay.
The cut is good. The cut was good.
All right, so good cuts on both sides, improvements in their times on both sides. And here you can see thin to win, nice thin cut, keeping it straight. You don't want to overpressure the saw because that might actually, and there you see he hit the brake. Ah, that was the problem. He hit the brake and then he's got himself a thin, oh my God, that is paper thin. That helps the cut speed on the way down, but on the way back up, he was just a bit too slow. And the improvement here goes to Chris Owen. So there you see Chris Owen with the faster time between the two. And he's got a 15:21, 1:23 off pace, sitting in second place in stock saw with Steers in third place in stock saw. Steers, though, gets the 21 points score now with that new ranking set up in the overall, takes over top spot just ahead of Josh Bakes, and then Owen in third place.
Well, with 2 heats done, that gives us the chance to talk to Cody Steers, who's on top of the list for the moment. Cody.
Yeah, well, it wasn't a real good start even in the warm-up. I accidentally flicked the saw off for some reason. Never even really done that when I've been training. And then, I set myself. I thought I was about right. And yeah, I must have just had the saw a little bit back, or a little bit too close to me. And when I've come down to pick it up, I've flicked the chain brake on. So when I've got to the log, yeah, saw wouldn't go. So then I had to flick the chain brake off. So by then you've lost probably 2 seconds. And then, that just sort of rattled me for the whole thing. And I was pretty rough through the wood as well. I was pretty slow. So. I wasn't a DQ, I suppose. That's the only positive. But, that's the way it goes. A bit unlucky, but I was still four disciplines to go, so we'll worry about them.
Well, Cody not too happy with that discipline.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a small fumble where he got the hand. You could see it in the slow-mo, and it was really obvious. He reached up and grabbed the brake, which stops the chain, and he had to push it back out to get the saw going again. But he got a really thin cut on the way down, so he was fast anyway on the way down. But on the way back up, he was just too thick and too slow, and that gave it to Chris in that case. So, yeah, advantage the other way.
Best of luck to him for the next coming up discipline. And of course, there's so many disciplines and there's so many competition that you can watch on Amazon Prime. So make sure to get that done. Take a closer look at this.
Oh my God, how close is this? It's one of the closest heats we've had all day long, and it's Australia!
When the crowd start, erupting, screaming and shouting, it just really does give you goosebumps.
It's pretty awesome to compete in front of a crowd like this.
I've been working my ass off the last 5 years to get to this point.
Is it going to be the checker bubble? Yes, it is! And the crowd goes bananas! He moves, then goes down. He's looking good!
It might make some people nervous. It doesn't make me nervous. It makes me ready to go.
To come here to the World Championships is one of my dreams. It has been ever since as a kid.
Ready for any challenge. Battery power, made by STIHL.
Only from your local STIHL dealer.
All right, our next heat warming up. Glenn Gillum getting his saw running, going up against Brody Dingle. Brody, super relaxed competitor, but for Glenn, this discipline is his kryptonite. In 2 of the last 3 events, he's placed dead last in stock saw. So this is a thing that he wants to shake. If he can get that monkey off his back, he will be one of the most complete timber sportsmen out there. Let's see if he can do it today.
3, 2, 1, go!
Good start. Deep positioning for Glenn Gillum on the left-hand side of your screen. Meanwhile, Dingle, oh, look at this. These guys are dead even. Dingle has a slight better stroke on the up. Oh, and he's got a great time, 11.81. Nice job. And Glenn Gillum with a 12.25. So both of them getting good cuts, and that means we're going to have a big change in the overall rankings as well. But let's look at the stock saw review first before we check out the rankings. Brody Dingle, just really relaxed, not too much pressure on the saw, letting the blade or the chain do the work. Now watch the upswing here. Hardly any. Glenn Gillum, meanwhile, this is a good look for Glenn, getting down deep in that position. He's obviously been working this because he knows it's one of the weaker disciplines for him. And there you see Dingle with a nice fine finish. And then we'll take a look at the stock saw ranking first. So Dingle and Gillum, 1 and 2 in the ranking here for stock saw. That's going to bode well for them in the overall standings. That pushes everybody down 2 spots. And in the overall, Gillum and Dingle. Oh, Gillum goes up to the top with 21 points. Dingle with 15 sits in 4th place. So steers and bakes in 2nd and 3rd, respectively. And there we see the shake and bake that happens in the overall rankings during these events. And that's what makes it so exciting as we get closer down. All right, up next, Danny Gurr against Mitch Argent. All right, Daniel Gurr, as we mentioned earlier, very, very accurate with the axe. Let's see how he does with the stock saw. You can see his personal best of 12.50. So in that respect, the young man has a slight advantage over Mitchell Argent in this particular discipline. Let's see if he can hold that down against the vet.
Go!
Yeah, really quick start on that stock saw by Daniel Gurr. Mitch Argent. Oh, Mitch is just slightly behind Gurr. On the upstroke, Argent looks a little bit better, and he's got the better time, 12.21, and Daniel Gurr with a 12.68. So that'll put him 4th in stock saw. And it looks like there's a slight review going on for Mitch Argent. Hopefully his cuts are good.
Cut is good.
Confirmed the cuts are good for Mitch Argent, so we're good to move ahead and take a look at the review. Great start there by Daniel Gurr. He had a really quick attack on the log. Similar for Mitch Argent. He was a bit slower on the downstroke, but on that upstroke, he was just not beatable. And you can see nice and thin there by Daniel Gurr on the upstroke. Mitch Argent's angle, I think, was the difference maker there, just slightly faster. And let's take a look at the stock saw rankings here. So Mitch Argent slips into 2nd place. Daniel Gurr in 4th with a 12.21 and 12.68 respectively. And you can see it's not that much into between top spot and 4th place in the stock saw. It's only 0.87. And Mitch Argent just slides into 2nd place in the overall ranking. Daniel Gurr in 6th place there with a couple more heats to go. So it's shucking and jiving and shifting and changing as we go through here. Lawrence O'Toole. Lawrence O'Toole took 1st place in the stock saw at the 2018 Australian Championship. His personal best is a very respectable 11.67, just 1/100th of a second ahead of Jamie Head. So let's see if these guys can match their personal bests here. We've seen some good times so far today.
1, go!
Wow. Look how quick they both were getting up onto those blocks. Jeez, how close is this? Jamie Head in Lawrence O'Toole, oh God! 0.10 of a second difference between the two, and Jamie Head gets it just by a hair of his chin. Holy smokes, folks. That one's going to go to video review. There's no doubt about it.
That is good.
Oh, my goodness. We're going to go back and look at the slow-mos on that one because that was dead close between these two guys. Lawrence O'Toole right there. So efficient getting up there. Good pressure on that saw. Jamie Head as well. Complete focus. Good cuts by both of these guys. Jamie Head, no swing at all on the transition from down to upstroke. What a finish. I want to see these times here one more time. Look at that. Jamie Head, 11.80. Lawrence O'Toole, 11.90. 0.10 of a second difference. And Dingle sitting in the middle between those two guys in the top three. Let's take a look at the overall standings, and the shift is on. Lawrence O'Toole now takes over the top spot. Glenn Gillum sitting in second, and Mitch Argent sitting in third. Cody Steers moves down to fourth place. Jamie Head is sitting in sixth, and Braden Meyer at the moment is on the bubble. He hasn't gone in his heat yet, but he's on the bubble in eighth place. So Braden Meyer is up next, going against Brad DeLosa. Braden Meyer becoming quickly a legend in timber sports with the way he uses the axe, and we all know Brad DeLosa is a living legend in the sport. But Braden Meyer has a personal best of 10.48, so that signals to me there's an advantage for Meyer in this discipline here. Let's see if DeLosa can keep up with him.
Go!
You can see the angle Meyer uses to get in there. Brad DeLosa opting for a bit of a flatter angle, but a very efficient upstroke return by Braden Meyer. DeLosa right there with him, but I think Braden Meyer's going to get through this one, and he does in 13.76, and Brad DeLosa in 15 good times. Not personal best for either of these two gentlemen, as the judges take a quick check.
Good.
The athlete's cut was good.
All right, so two good cuts by Braden Meyer and Brad DeLosa. And you can see Brad had that mark on the top of the log to give him a guideline to make sure he stays really thin on that first cut. Check the angle of the blade of the saw for Braden Meyer. The body or the motor of the saw barely moves, and he's using the angle pressure to push down. And meanwhile, Brad DeLosa had a little bit of a slower upward cut, maybe putting a little bit too much pressure on the upward cut. And we take a look here. Yeah, both Meyer and DeLosa pretty low down in the times as far as the stock saw is concerned, but we'll see them shift a little bit higher in the rankings once we take a look at the overall. Let's watch this. And there you see, DeLosa drops down outside of the top 8. Meanwhile, Braden Meyer moves into third place. So that is a tough position for Brad DeLosa to be in because he is outside the top 8 that will move on to the next round if he cannot make a major improvement in the standing block chop.
Well, I'm starting to really enjoy this virtual competition, and I've got two times for you, 11.80 and 11.81. Troy, what's going on? We need to take a closer look at this head-to-head because that was unreal.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've seen some good times from these guys so far today, and if we look at this head-to-head once again, I mean, Lawrence O'Toole and Glenn Gillum at the top of the overall standings here. As we take a quick look at our overall standings before we go to the head-to-head, and Braden Meyer still in the mix. Glenn Gillum really making a push to take the Australian Championship down. Lawrence O'Toole, he's done it before. He wants to do it again. And of course, you know, Braden Meyer and Mitch Argent are definitely going to be pushing hard from those two positions down below.
Only 1 point between the three, so
there's not that much difference right now. We've got one more discipline to go in round one, though.
Yeah, 1 point the difference, and one... Is that a 100th of a second? Yeah, that
100th of a second.
Yeah. We want to take a look at that 100th of a second.
Yeah, it wasn't much.
Let's go head to head.
All right, here we go. So watch the start here by both of these guys.
Oh, that's where he lost it. No, it isn't.
Jamie Head.
Oh, you go. Oh, look at that. It's unreal. No.
The upswing was non-existent.
Is it here? Is it
Switch.
here? Nah.
Look at that. It's hardly. I mean,
I can't see it.
You absolutely need those high-speed cameras in order to see the difference between those guys, and that's why these pictures were sent in advance to the judging crew to make sure that those times were as accurate as possible. 1/100th of a second, that's minuscule, but it made the difference between first and second place in the heat.
And receiving 12 or 11 points.
Exactly.
So there is a difference. We've got one more discipline coming up, ladies and gentlemen, in this first round, and that's the standing block chop. All you need to know about this discipline coming up now.
Standing block chop. At the standing block chop, the felling of a tree with an axe is simulated. A vertically positioned wooden block with a diameter of 30 centimeters has to be cut through both sides. A powerful and precise swing with the axe is the premise of a good result.
I am ready, so is Troy Mannering. We just need to find out the starting order for this discipline. Let's take a closer look at that. In Heat 1, ladies and gentlemen, will be Brody Dingle and Chris Owen. Heat 2 consists of Josh Bakes and Daniel Gurr. In Heat 3, we'll see Jamie Head and David Rumer. Heat 4, Brad DeLosa and Lawrence O'Toole. In Heat 5, Cody Steers will take on Braden Meyer. And in Heat 6, we'll see Glenn Gillum and Mitch Argent. Can't wait to get this on. Standing block chop coming up in just a few seconds.
Stand to your block.
All right, Brody Dingle, not known as a really strong standing block chop man, but he is known to have fast times when he needs them in this discipline. Chris Owen, it was Chris Owen that can get those fast times when he needs them. Brody Dingle and Chris Owen pretty evenly matched here, actually, if you look at their personal best times. And as far as their body size and mass goes, they're also fairly evenly matched. They're both 31 years old. One's 180 centimeters tall, one's 185. They're all, ready to go, and we're into it. Standing block chop, a quick stick by Owen on his side that slowed him down, and Brody Dingle, with his relaxed art, is taking down big slabs as he moves over to the other side first. Chris Owen, meanwhile, has taken a couple of extra hits and has moved over a little bit after Dingle. Chris Owen now fighting from behind, both of them with respectable times, no personal bests for either of them, a 2016 and a 21:04 respectively.
Cut was good.
All right, looking back at the slow-mo here, Brody Dingle getting deep on those first two hits and then over to the top, and you can see big slabs coming off of that first side as he tries to get in deep. Chris Owen also slabbing out nicely. A little bit of a slip on the angle there on that third or fourth hit. I'm not sure which one it was, but final blow was heavy. Brody Dingle as well. So for both of those guys, we're not going to call them personal best times or world record times, but good enough to get them some points to start off this third discipline in round one. And we take a look at the overall standings. Brody Dingle has enough points to move into the top spot. How long that will last depends on how the other guys do here. And let's not forget, too, in this third discipline in round one, it's all about getting as fast a time as possible to be among the top 8, because only the top 8 athletes will move on to the next round. And now we have Josh Bakes and Daniel Gurr up against each other. Now here we see the young man Josh Bakes has a personal best of 24:48. Daniel Gurr 20.29. So we wanted to see this matchup at the beginning of the competition, and now we're going to see the two young, thin gentlemen going up against each other. Will they improve on their personal bests here today? Let's see. Josh Bakes in the green on the left-hand side, Daniel Gurr on the orange on the right-hand side. Daniel is the first one to move over. And these guys both on the same stage by the sounds of it as they go head-to-head with each other. Josh Bakes really high on his block. And it's Daniel Gurr with a 22.90. So he did a great job there.
Cut
Josh
is good.
Bakes with a 24.15.
Cut is good.
Taking a look back. Daniel Gurr, again, the precision of his cuts plays such a big role in how quickly he can get through these logs because he is not one of those big monster muscle-bound guys. And Josh Bakes, you know these two guys are going to have long careers in STIHL Timbersports as we take a look here. And there we see 22.90 and 24.15 their time, sitting in third and fourth place in standing block chop. And let's see how that affects them in the overall rankings. Oh, Daniel Gurr and Josh Bakes moved into second and third place. I'm pretty sure that's not going to last too long, though, because Lawrence O'Toole and Glenn Gillum are a couple of guys that will be going up, or not against each other, but will be coming later on. And Glenn Gillum is no slouch when it comes to the standing block chop. Neither is Jamie Head, and he is up against David Rumer. David Rumer holds the rookie world record for standing block at 12.16, and that's on a 27-centimeter block. And the blocks that they're using today are 3 centimeters larger in diameter, so that's obviously going to play a role here.
Stand to
Jamie
your
Heads,
timber. 3,
he actually
2,
manufactures
1,
his own axe handles so that he could create an axe handle that works best for his type of hold and the best swing possible. David Rumer and Jamie Head both moving over to the backside of their blocks quickly and with each other. David Rumer getting some big slabs, and his top looks like it's going to go off first before Jamie Head. Good time for David Rumer, and that's a 19.29. Jamie Head with a 23.02. So that time for David Rumer is going to mean a good amount of points for now.
Cut is good.
Awesome.
Athlete's cut was good.
Don't know if that's a river in the background or if it's raining like crazy where Rumer is, but both of these guys just going at it big time. Jamie Head seemed to have a little bit of trouble here. Rumer, on the other hand, was slabbing out nicely, and it was just one of these hits here that loosed the top of that block slightly. Just needed one more to drop it. Good job by Rumer. David Rumer, and then Jamie Head finally lopping that block off. So Rumer with a 19.29 has the fastest time so far in standing block chop. That puts him on top for the moment. Jamie Head with a 23.02 is about mid-pack at the moment. And that will definitely change when we see our next heat come up, because Brad DeLosa is going up against Lawrence O'Toole. A couple of absolute beasts when it comes to this discipline here. Lawrence O'Toole, definitely the advantage in my eyes. He can step farther away from the block. His legs start at his neck, so he can really use those to his advantage. And he's got a slightly faster personal best than Brad DeLosa. So let's see how this one loads into the blocks, as we say.
Stand to your timber.
Brad DeLosa needs to make this happen. He's sitting in the drop zone at the moment. He is on the bubble, as you would call it, because he's was sitting in 10th place after the stock saw, which was not a strong discipline for him. And he needs to do well here today against Lawrence O'Toole. Both passing their best times now, and as I said, this is harder wood here. 17.42 for Lawrence O'Toole, and Brad DeLosa drops it in 22.29. That is not going to help him in the overall standings. He's sitting in 8th place.
The cut was good.
The cut was good.
So judges call both cuts for these guys good, and that means Lawrence O'Toole will have won this heat, but again, it's down to the times, and we'll see that when we take a look at the times for the standing block chop. Lawrence O'Toole just using every ounce of his height. Brad DeLosa choking up on the axe a little bit closer to the block, and you can see just that little last hit to drop top of the block there was the difference maker, and Lawrence O'Toole really putting his core strength into it. You could see the twist of the hips, the push on that back foot. And let's take a look at the standing block rankings here. So Lawrence O'Toole, as expected, on top with a 17.42. Brad DeLosa, 5th place here in standing block. But as I mentioned, that puts him in 8th place in the overall standings. So he is literally on the bubble with another 2 heats yet to be played out between a couple of very strong boys.
Well, thanks very much, Troy. And I've just been told that we get the chance to talk to Brad DeLosa, the world champion from 2013. What he has to say about what just happened in that discipline, well, we'll find out this very moment. Brad?
Yeah, it didn't quite go to plan really. I was a little bit flat in the front, and then I also had a little bit of a knot in there. So yeah, it wasn't ideal. I went for 80 in the front, and then I was sort of hopefully sort of 8 to 9 in the back, and I think it was 11. So yeah, a couple of little extra hits there that really cost me, and also twisted and hung on the back. So yeah, that'll be pretty detrimental to me time, I'd say.
Well, and of course, Brad wants to be in the top 8 to move on to round number 2. If he will succeed, well, we'll find out in just a few moments as we proceed to heat number 5.
Cody Steers held the Australian record in the standing block back in 2016. Meanwhile, Braden Meyer has the current national record in standing block of 12:33. So there's a massive difference in the time here for personal best between these two guys. And we already know that Braden Meyer is an absolute lightning fast axeman. So let's see if the Cobra can take down some lightning here in this heat.
3, 2, 1, go!
Once again, Braden Meyer gets right into it with those really fast swings. He's not only quick with the axe in the underhand chop, he's also quick with the axe in the standing block chop. Cody Steers took a little bit longer to move over to the backside where Braden Meyer was already taking his first 2 swings. But Cody Steers, wow, fantastic finish for him with a 17.82. Braden Meyer with a 19.94, and that was unexpected. And I think that the Cobra just caught lightning in a bottle.
Cut is good.
The cut is good.
Well, that was unexpected. I thought for sure Braden Meyer would go through on this one. Their time difference in their personal best was quite significant, but Cody Steers with a fantastic effort in the final. He actually came around to the backside of his block after Braden Meyer by at least 2 to 3 strokes and managed to do a great job just to take down the top of that block with some big power drives. And this last one right here, yeah, that was the killer right there. Fantastic job by him to take out one of the best axemen out there. So Cody Steers with a 17.82 slips into 2nd place. Braden Meyer moves into 4th place in standing block chop. That means Brad DeLosa is in a bit of trouble here. He drops down to 10th place. Meyer and Steers are respectively in positions 2 and 3 in the overall rankings, and that means we're not going to see Brad DeLosa in the next round, which is unfortunate, but we still have one more heat to go, and that's between Glenn Gillum and Mitch Argent. Now, Glenn Gillum is an absolute master at this discipline. Where you saw Braden Meyer on the underhand chop, this is Glenn Gillum in standing block chop.
Time is ready. Camera is ready. Athlete ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
All right, Mitch Argent and Glenn Gillum getting at it right away. Mitch Argent looking actually very good as he slabs out some nice pieces from his block. Glenn Gillum moving to the other side quickly. Now Mitch Argent, 2 strokes in for Glenn Gillum, and Argent's already onto the backside of his. A couple of hops by Gillum, and that caused him problems, and Mitch Argent actually beat Glenn Gillum by 1 second and some change. So a great job by Mitch Argent to take down a man who absolutely dominates at this discipline.
Cut is good.
There you see Glenn Gillum. These are some really good cuts here, but there was one where he just skipped a little bit. Mitch Argent, meanwhile, he just had some very accurate, very deep cuts, and I guess he might have also gotten a little bit lucky with this last drive right here where he took the top off. Nicely done by Mitch Argent, though. Great job to beat Glenn Gillum in a discipline where he is normally unbeatable. So let's take a look at the rankings here in the standing block chop. So Mitch Argent moves up to the top of the standing block chop. Great job by him, pushing O'Toole and Steers down. Gillum sits in 4th place with Rumer, Meyer, and Dingle in the top 7, and Owen down there in 8th. We could see Brad DeLosa in 9th. In the overall standings, there's a big switch. Lawrence O'Toole back on top again. Mitch Argent and Glenn Gillum in 2 and 3 respectively. Braden Meyer in 4, still in striking distance. It's getting exciting now.
And that concludes round 1 of the STIHL Timbersports Virtual Australian Championship. Let's take a closer look how our top 8 athletes made their points. Troy.
Well, you can see in each of the different disciplines in the rows there, underhand chops, stock saw, and standing block chop. All of those points are added up, and that gives you our total. And of course, as we said, the top 8 will move on to the next round. So Lawrence O'Toole, Mitch Argent, Glenn Gillum, the top 3 guys after those first 3 disciplines in round 1 will be among the top 8 that will move on to the next round. And we can see, unfortunately, for Gur, DeLosa, Bakes, and Owen, we're not going to see them in the next round, especially for DeLosa. That's a bit of a surprise because he is an absolute legend in the sport, but it was a stock saw problem and a standing block that just didn't go to plan. As he said in his interview, you know, his front side was a little bit flat, and it just didn't work out the way that he wanted.
And having Braden Meyer in 4th position is a bit of a surprise to me, to be honest.
Yeah, it's not really a big surprise. I mean, it is surprising because he's usually a little bit stronger, but his standing block chop, I was actually surprised that he didn't win his standing block chop. And, you know, that he's in 4th position isn't the end of the world for him because he's one of those guys that is just tends to get stronger as the competition goes on. So
he's still in striking distance.
Let's not count him out just yet.
Okay, let's not count him out just yet. I'll take you for that. But let's take a closer look at the top 2 here in the standing block chop competition, at Mitch Argent and Lawrence O'Toole in a head-to-head.
All right, let's take a look back at the side-by-side review of this heat between Lawrence O'Toole and Mitch Argent. Mitch Argent working the axe a little bit faster than Lawrence O'Toole, but you'll see here, Lawrence O'Toole is the first guy to get to the other side, starts working on the backside of his log. Mitch Argent opting to go a little bit deeper on the front side, and now they're more or less stroke for stroke, but it's Mitch Argent dropping the block before Lawrence O'Toole. Great job. And that boded well for both of those gentlemen, especially for Lawrence O'Toole, now that he's leading in the overall standings and moving on to the next round with a little bit of a buffer.
That was quite impressive, to be honest. Troy, one thing I want to know from you, how long have you been around considering timber sports?
Yeah, I mean, my first live event was in Poland in 2015, and I had been doing the magazine shows before that. So, I mean, we get to see these guys all these years. And I remember doing the magazine shows and I'm thinking, what a great sport. And then I got to Poland and saw the first live event, and I mean, I was absolutely, as they say here, flashed. It just is incredible.
But no black and white pictures from you.
Oh, you're being funny over here. I see. The guy's being a comedian. Yeah, okay. I'm not that old. Thanks very much for the compliment.
Yeah, but you've been around quite some time. And if you want to know more about the history of timber sports, we'll take a look at this.
Expert woodsman who can cut down a tree more easily than most people can chop one up. When it really comes to tackling large lumps, you can't beat the men of the forestry companies.
An axeman's gathering.
This is Thomas losing the loss that gets it.
Well, I'm not sure if you guys can see this. Goosebumps, the history of Steel Timber Sports. But let's take a look at the future. We are getting ready for round number 2. Troy, a bit of a surprise.
Absolutely. Well, we saw in round 1 the 3 disciplines, and Brad DeLosa, one of our favorites who we mentioned off the top of the show, struggling in the stock saw and the standing block chop, unfortunately gets surprisingly eliminated. So now we take a look at what it's going to look like for round 2, and that's the single buck and springboard disciplines, and it will be the top 8 athletes from round number 1 moving on to round 2. So it's going to be getting interesting now because we have the pain whip as the first discipline in round 2.
Yeah, and that's the single buck. Let's take a closer look.
Single buck. The single buck is a one-man saw about 2 meters long. With this, the athletes have to cut off a complete disc from a 40-centimeter thick wooden block. The perfect interplay between rhythm and strength is the key to success. The 2-meter-long cross-cut saw used for the single buck discipline is made especially for competition. A series of consistently patterned 10-centimeter-long teeth are cut with a laser on one side of the saw and then hand-sharpened. Saw teeth are divided into 2 types, cutters and rakers, just like on the old-school saws. The saw weighs about 5 kilos and its base price starts at around 1,500 euros.
Heard it, the athletes are going to need rhythm and strength in Heat 1. We'll see David Rumer take on Jamie Head, followed by Heat 2 with Brody Dingle and Cody Stiz. In Heat 3, there'll be Braden Meyer and Glenn Gillum. And in Heat 4, Mitch Argent taking on Lawrence O'Toole. Let the games begin or commence. Troy.
Commence works for me. Begins is also just fine. Let's put these guys in the blocks and get ready to go. I mean, this discipline is an interesting one because, like you said, rhythm and strength play a role, but also endurance is a big deal here because you have to be able to keep that saw moving. If you get it caught, if it gets stuck, if the angle is wrong, and you do not want one of those teeth, then you're going to be in big trouble. So our first heat in single buck, David Rumer going up against Jamie Head. Now, both of these guys pretty tall, or well, rather David Rumer is pretty tall. Jamie Head not so much at 175, but Jamie Head definitely has the pedigree here with the stock saw, or with the single buck, excuse me.
Go!
So it's about getting a good start and using that entire saw. Now, you see Rumer, he's using those frantic quick cuts, but he's got a big problem. He got stuck for a good second there if you did the 1/1000 count, and that managed to give Jamie Head a huge advantage, and now Jamie Head gets stuck as well, giving it back to David Rumer, but Jamie Head manages to get through it anyway. Wow, he got lucky right there, and you got to be good to be lucky and lucky to be good. Jamie Head with a time of 18:39, David Rumer with a time of 19:42.
That is good.
A couple of scary moments for both of those guys, though. Both cuts are good. I want to look back at this replay here because David Rumer, he did those really quick choppy strokes, whereas Jamie Head started off with big, long, flowing strokes, and that was to his advantage, actually. And Rumer, he got caught big time right in here, and that saw stop for a good 1 second at least, and that was his undoing as Jamie managed to keep going, keep that saw cutting from the long, straight strokes, and unfortunately for David Rumer, that 1 second was the difference maker. So Jamie Head and David Rumer are our first athletes to take down single buck, therefore getting the points respectively. Jamie Head, those 16 points go to him, and it's 2 points difference between the top guys now. In the overall ranking, you just saw Jamie Head and David Rumer doing a little bit of shifting around in there. Top spots. And now we're moving to heat number 2 with Brody Dingle going up against Cody Steers. Cody Steers, personal best time for him, 15:32. And Brody Dingle 1641. What we should mention here is the wood that they're using is hoop pine from Queensland, which is a native species to Australia. So it's a little bit harder than the wood they're using in Europe and North America. So that's making the times a little bit slower here as well. Wow, Steers. He is working that saw from tip to tail, and it's fast. He's going to have a good time here by the looks of it, even with that wood being as it... Oh, no! He broke off a piece. He needs to keep going, and that is going to be as close as it gets. 18.63 for Dingle and 18.76 for Steers. And it was just an unfortunate break because of a saw bend or a twist. I don't know. We'll have to see back at the replay.
Cut is good.
Let's see if the cut is okay for Steers. And they're double checking it now. It has to be a complete cookie. So I just heard the judge say it's all there.
The cut is good.
Yep, so we have a good cut from Cody Steers and David Rumer. So both of them are fine, but it was just that last little hit by Cody Steers. And watch this. He was using, like I said, tip to tail on that saw and fast. Rumer, on the other hand, he wasn't using the entire saw, but he had quick strokes in the middle. Now watch right here. Yeah, the saw twist breaks off the cookie a little bit, and he had to keep cutting to make sure that the rest of that cookie fell off. And for Rumer, it was a nice clean cut, and Steers as well. So, Brody Dingle and Cody Steers mixing up the guys in that heat. So Dingle and Steers with an 18.63 and 18.76. So just in second and third positions here. And in the overall, Steers moves into the top spot with Dingle right behind him, and Jamie Head sitting in third place. All right, Braden Meyer. If you're going to say that anybody's got a weak discipline, this would be the one for Braden Meyer, and it's not even that weak. Look at the time for him, 12:97. Glenn Gillum, 14:61, but he's been working hard on this particular discipline and wants to have a little bit of revenge here on Braden Meyer in this discipline.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Now watch the style differences between these two. Braden Meyer starts off with some quick strokes, and then, just like with his axe, starts to use that entire saw and works it quickly. Glenn Gillum doing the same thing, though. A little bit of a longer stroke by Glenn Gillum, and boy, Braden Meyer and Glenn Gillum both with great times, but Glenn Gillum slightly better with a 17.40, and Braden Meyer, or 15.40, excuse me.
Good.
I can't read. And Braden Meyer with a 15.74. Couple of good cuts by these guys.
Good.
See there, Glenn Gillum just using every ounce of his poor body strength to try and really work that saw. Meanwhile, Braden Meyer has got a good stroke there, but Glenn Gillum was just a little bit more efficient with that single buck. Good job by both of these guys, though. So, Glenn Gillum and Braden Meyer with the fastest time so far by, a good amount. 15.40, 15.74. So they are going to be taking the top points with one more heat to go. Mitch Argent, Lawrence O'Toole, and this is arguably one of the stronger disciplines for Lawrence O'Toole when he comes into this one. Mitch Argent hasn't really been focusing on the single buck in the early days of his competition life, but he has put in the hard work to try and really improve this discipline, and he has become one of the masters on it. And unfortunately, we don't see Brad DeLosa in this second round of the competition, but if anybody in Australia is a master of this discipline, it's him. So Mitch Argent, you can see the time there for personal best 15.86, and Lawrence O'Toole, personal best 11.75.
McCoy ready?
Let's see how they do.
Ready?
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
You can see Lawrence O'Toole deep in the knees, using those long legs to try and push off that back leg and use as much of his long body to try and work that entire saw through. The Mitch Argent, though, has a really quick cut time by the looks of it, 16.95 and a 17.44 for Lawrence O'Toole. So Mitch Argent just slightly better today, and that extra time that he's put in working on this single buck has really paid off.
Cut is good.
Cut is good.
So the cuts are good for both of these guys, but their times are not as fast as Glenn Gillum and Braden Meyer. So they are sitting in third and fourth places relative to the single buck ranking. We look back here. Yeah, there's those long strokes from Lawrence O'Toole. Usually an advantage. Perhaps saw choice in this particular situation was the difference maker. Who knows? It's sometimes a bit of luck and sometimes a bit of kismet. But a great job by Mitch Argent. So Mitch Argent, Lawrence O'Toole, third and fourth in the single buck ranking, and you can see the time differences are quite significant there between the top two, and then 3, 4, 5, and 6 as we move down the list. Glenn Gillum and Braden Meyer with the faster times. Let's see how this changes the overall. Ooh, not bad. Mitch Argent stays in third place in the overall, and Lawrence O'Toole is now in second place in the overall, tied actually with Mitch Argent. Interesting.
Well, absolutely interesting, just like you said, Troy. But let's take a closer look at all 4 disciplines that we've seen so far and where the athletes collected the points.
All right, in the overall standings, you can see Glenn Gillum, some good points collected in the underhand chop as well as in the standing or the single buck. Not as strong in stock saw or standing block chop. And he's got the 43 points for the overall at the moment, though. So it doesn't mean you have to win every single discipline to be on top. Lawrence O'Toole, though, right there. And Braden Meyer still sitting in fourth place within striking distance. And you can see there's only 4 points difference between fourth and first place. So he does have an opportunity to step up in the game. O'Toole and Mitch Argent tied with 40 points each. So that would come down to timing.
And as always, we want to take a closer look at the top 2. And that was heat number 3. That was Glenn Gillum and Braden Meyer. Let's take an analysis, close look at this, Troy. Why was Glenn faster than Braden? I want to know that from you now.
Well, this is the side-by-side once again, and you can see these two guys battling head-to-head. Glenn Gillum going for those fast strokes. 2 of them are actually, really quick on the strokes, but Braden Meyer just using a little bit more of the saw, but I'm surprised Glenn Gillum got the faster hit on the disc at the end, but it was not that much between them in the difference. So a couple of good guys there who are not really working in their strongest discipline, quite honestly.
And let's take a closer look at Lawrence O'Toole. He's in striking distance. He's in position number 2, and we are going to get the chance to talk to him right now. Lawrence, over to you, all the way to down under Australia.
Yeah, well, I didn't hang up, so that's always a bonus. I just felt like I was in nowhere land for a bit, just pulling it back and forwards. Almost felt like I was in the Champions Trophy. Wasn't really on top of it, but, is what it is, and now I'm ready for the springboard, so I'm looking forward to that.
Well, he's not the only one looking forward to springboard, so are we, and all you need to know about this discipline is coming up for you right now.
Springboard. Springboard simulates the traditional way of felling trees, climbing up over thick roots. First, notches known as pockets are chopped into the log. 2 springboards are then anchored into these pockets. The athlete then climbs up to chop through a 27-centimeter thick block of wood in the fastest time possible.
Second and last discipline of round number 2 coming up, the springboard. Let's take a look at the bracket before we do so.
All right, so round 2, we've already seen the single buck get taken down, and that sets us up for an interesting springboard competition because that changes our overall standings. Lawrence O'Toole, who was in the lead for a while, is now sitting in second place. Glenn Gillam is in good position to try and do well, but Glenn Gillam is not the strongest at springboard. Meanwhile, Braden Meyer and Lawrence O'Toole both have very solid springboard passes, so let's see if they can do any damage here. Mitch Argent also no slouch when it comes to springboard, and this is going to be the determining factor to see which of the top 6 guys will move on to the all-favorite hot saw for you gas heads out there.
Sure. I'm totally and completely confused now. Let's just move on to the springboard, because anything and everything is possible in this amazing competition. This is the start list. In Heat 1, we'll have David Rumer take on Jamie Head. In Heat 2, it's going to be Brody Dingle and Cody Stiz. Heat 3 consists of Braden Meyer and Glenn Gillam. And finally, in Heat 4, we'll have Mitch Argent take on Lawrence O'Toole. Can't wait for springboard to start.
Camera crew ready.
Well, there you see David Rumer, and this will be a first for him because they don't have the springboard in the rookie competition. So for him, it'll be the first time. Jamie Head, he's hot and cold with this particular discipline. You know, sometimes he's on, sometimes he's off, and we often mention this about the number of hits it takes to create a pocket to set your first board in. So we'll take a real close look at that during the heat. So first heat up, David Rumer up against Jamie Head.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
So the perfect situation is if you can hit 4 hits to make your pocket, and Jamie Head has just done that. Rumer, though, doing very well considering this is his first time in competition doing the springboard. So he's up there on his board, while Jamie Head is now setting, I think that was a 6-hit pocket there in his second, and he'll get up onto that top board and start working on the block on the top. What's very important here is to make sure that you get a good solid pocket so that that springboard holds its position so that you can use your legs to push and get a little bit more power into the axe. If the springboard starts to sag at all, then you're going to be using your arms and your upper body more, and you get tired very quickly. Now, Jamie Head is already very, very deep onto the first side. He'll switch his hand position and foot position and start going from the backside, which is that awkward cut you're seeing right now. And David Rumer, meanwhile, he's doing a great job for his first time. Jamie Head with a 52.75 in springboard. Good job for him. Puts him in second place in the overall and first place in springboard. David Rumer, you got to give him props. He's not given up. He's gone deep on the first side. This is his first time in springboard in the competition. Jamie Head clearly winded. And Rumer, he just doesn't want to go on that awkward side, and he's trying to get through as deep as possible. But now he's going onto the backside with that awkward shortcut. And yeah, you know, this is, like I said, first time for him because they don't do the springboard in the rookie competition. With that final blow, 135.66. Puts him in 6th place overall, 2nd place because of the heat here in springboard. Great job, though, by Jamie Head in this first heat. So we can say hot and cold. He was hot on this one.
Yep. Cut is good.
So 1, 2, 3. I'm going to say that's 4 because I think I missed his first hit. That was a great pocket for Jamie Head, and he was quick up onto that board and did a great job to get up and have a good solid second board. You can see the angle right there and that final blow from Jamie Head, and the axe goes down with the block. This was a nice final cut also from David Rumer. So you know he's going to be thinking about this and taking a look at video footage and looking at what he can do to improve this particular discipline now that he's up with the big boys. All right, and there's the change in the overall standings. Rumer is in 6th place with Jamie Head now sitting in 2nd place, but yeah, we've still got a few more heats to go. So Brody Dingle having a quick inspection of his log. He's got a great personal best of 52.77, set at last year's championship, but it wasn't enough
to get him over to the hot saw. He's going up against Cody Steers, and he is yet to cut under a minute. Is this weekend his weekend? Let's find out.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
So Cody Steers on the right in yellow. Brody Dingle on the left in the purple. Good first pocket by Dingle and from Steers. Looks like Steers been working here, so it's going to be all about getting up there and having a good cut on that top block if he can get that second pocket set quickly, which he seems to have done. Cleared it out with his hands. Oh, but his board fell down. That's going to cost him some big time. He needs to be back up on his first board to set the second board now. Meanwhile, Dingle has already started working the block on top, and obviously Cody Steers had some extra material left in the pocket, and that's going to play head games with him now that he's up there with that sharp axe. You don't want to have that board slipping out while you're standing up there on that thing 2 meters off the ground. Dingle, on the other hand, moved over to the other side. Couple of backside cuts for him should do it, and he should come in under a minute. He does, 56.48. And that's second place in springboard and third in the overall. If you look at that orange field with the white number it, that's the overall position. Cody Steers. And again, he hasn't come in under a minute, unfortunately for him. And it was pretty much in this case, he looked great right off the hop. But I think in this case, it was because that board slipped out. He had to go around, collect it, lean it up, and reset everything. And then that was the problem for him. So let's take a look back at the slow-mos here of the springboard. It's 1 hit, 2 hits. Oh, okay, we're not going to stay with Steers, unfortunately. But that first pocket for Cody Steers was great. Got him up there nice and fast. Dingle, on the other hand, he got up top, and he had under a minute springboard, so that was a great showing for him as well. So Brody Dingle, second place. Cody Steers, a 1:13.86, is still a little bit faster than David Rumer. So he is sitting in third place in springboard with Dingle in second place. Jamie Head still holding down the top with a 52.75 is the time to beat in springboard. Let's take a look at the overall, how that affects things here. So the juggling begins. Glenn Gillum still holding down the top spot with 43 points. Jamie Head now in second with Dingle sitting in third place, 40 points. Look at that. 2, 3, 4, 5, all with 40 points. Braden Meyer up next, though, going up against Glenn Gillum. So two guys that are definitely skilled. Braden Meyer, I'm going to say, is slightly better here than Glenn Gillum with the springboard, and you can see that is reflected in the time. Personal best for Braden Meyer is a very impressive 36.84. Let's see if he can get anywhere close to that today, and if Glenn Gillum has done some work in the off time to improve his springboard.
3, 2, 1, go!
Good quick pocket by Braden Meyer. Glenn Gillum just a stroke behind him there as they both get up on to the board for setting their second pockets. And you know Braden Meyer works with the axe a lot, so he is very familiar with it. So is Glenn Gillum. And Braden Meyer has now moved up onto the top springboard, and he's testing that thing just gingerly to make sure that he has that pressure that he needs. Glenn Gillum, he's about 5 or 6 strokes behind Braden Meyer now, coming onto the top to get working on that top block. Braden Meyer, meanwhile, has gone nice and deep on that top block. He needs to cut from both sides, so he's got himself a real deep wedge, and he'll switch over to the other side shortly. Glenn Gillum, meanwhile, just passing the 48 mark here, is still working on the front side. And Braden Meyer, he's not going to get his personal best anywhere close, but he's going to be under a minute on this one with a 56.18. First place in springboard for Braden Meyer. And, oh, a good time for Glenn Gillum with a 1:00.34.
The cut was good.
So both of these guys looking like they're getting good cuts. And that means
the cut was good.
We're going to see some shifting here. Let's take a look at our replay and Glenn Gillum setting up his first board to get up on top, and Braden Meyer. There was maybe a 6-hit pocket, and there's the backside strokes, that awkward angle like I like to talk about. And Braden Meyer looking pretty confident at this point, and that is going to mean big things for Braden Meyer. If anybody can beat that time, it's going to be tough. So look, it's Braden Meyer in second place with a 56.18, just behind Jamie Head. Glenn Gillum with a 1 minute or 1:00.34, so he's a few seconds off pace. Let's take a look at the overall now. Ooh, Braden Meyer now moves into the lead with Glenn Gillum right behind him. 53 points tie the two, so if it comes down to a tie at the end, it will be about the times, and Braden Meyer would win it. Lawrence O'Toole shifts down to fourth place, and we have one more heat. Speaking of Lawrence O'Toole, we have him going up against this man, Mitchell Argent. This should be a strong discipline for Lawrence O'Toole, unless his head is getting around him. So Mitchell Argent, Lawrence O'Toole, and both of them have pretty respectable times. Personal bests definitely give the advantage to Lawrence O'Toole with a 39.44, but Mitchell Argent, no slouch, with a 48.10.
Time is ready. Cameras ready. Athletes
Stand
ready.
to your timber.
Argent definitely has the chance to... Oh, I think there might have been an early start by Mitchell Argent there. I can't be sure, but it looks like he might have cut into the log before the official go. Lawrence O'Toole now setting his second pocket. Mitchell Argent just cleaning out his. Lawrence O'Toole's got his board in place. Argent taking a little bit of extra time now to set his board, and it's looking a little bit wobbly and sagging low. Now, that's going to cause problems for Argent, because he's going to have to work with most of his upper body and not be able to use his legs. Lawrence O'Toole, meanwhile, has the ability with the angle of his board to use that back leg to put some power into his strokes, and he's already moved on to the backside. Mitchell Argent still struggling to try the front side. Oh my goodness, a great time by Lawrence O'Toole, a 43.17. Mitchell Argent, that board is just too saggy. He has no opportunity to put power into his strokes, so he's using all arm and chest to get it done, and that causes a lot of fatigue. And a 1:00.19. Fourth place overall right there for Mitch Argent, and a great time for Lawrence O'Toole.
Time is good.
All right, so there you can see Mitch Argent just struggling with that top block, because that springboard for him was just a little bit too much of a down angle on that back foot. Didn't have the power. Lawrence O'Toole had a good angle on that second block. So the springboard, wow, great time by O'Toole with a 43.17, takes the top spot. Jamie Head right behind him. Third place goes to Braden Meyer. Fifth is Mitchell Argent in that heat against Lawrence O'Toole. And I guess we'll have a look back at O'Toole and Head in the split screen. And that means in the overall standings, Lawrence O'Toole moves into the top spot with 56. But look at this. Braden Meyer coming from behind, moving into second place with 51. And Glenn Gillum not that far off with 49. Mitch Argent has a 48. So it's getting a little bit fun now.
Yeah, Troy is getting excited, and so am I. Springboard really is something special. And Troy, that's one thing I need to ask you. Some of those guys, they're pretty massive, but they move up that tree and onto those boards like panthers.
Well, yeah, I mean, these guys,
they're smooth,
they look like big boys, and they are
big boys.
But have you ever seen an American football player, how quickly they can move? These guys are sort of similar in that respect. So, you know, they're very, very quick when it comes to it. So there we see the overall standings, and Lawrence O'Toole, 56, only 5 points ahead of Braden Meyer. Glenn Gillum with a 49, still in striking distance if we have an interesting hot saw competition, but we have to remember that only the top 6 guys after round 2 will be moving through into the hot saw.
Well, having said this, it's time to take a look at the top 2 in this discipline, and that's Lawrence O'Toole against Jamie Head.
All right, so you can see here Lawrence O'Toole and Jamie Head stroke for stroke. Boards in almost exactly at the same time. The difference here, Lawrence O'Toole getting that second pocket started quickly. And I think that was 5 or 6 hits for a second pocket. Jamie Head now just a tick behind O'Toole as they get up onto the top. Look at the angle on both of those boards, though. Looking very good. And here, it's the advantage to O'Toole in this case because he's got those long legs, those long arms. He can really work from the back of the board, pushing off that back foot, and there's not a lot of spring coming from that board, whereas Jamie Head, you know, he's using everything he's got, but he didn't shift over to the backside as quickly as O'Toole did, and you can see here, it took a couple of hits for Jamie on the backside, and I think it was 3 or 4 hits to get that block down. There it is. And it goes with the axe, but O'Toole was just like 3-4 hits faster than Jamie Head was. So there you go. Head-to-head analysis and your grind out.
Yes, and I think it'd be nice to see the schedule for more STIHL Timber Sports. Let's take a look what you can get on demand, and of course what competitions we had in 2020. Here you can see everything that has been happening so far, which you can get video on demand. Well, we're live with the virtual Australian Championship at the moment, and I'm afraid we have to say that the individual World Championship has to be cancelled due to COVID-19. But if you feel like owning your very own steel saw, like Troy, for instance, take a closer look what we have to offer for you now.
For a better way to buy garden power tools, go to your local STIHL dealer. They'll familiarise you with the tool and can get it ready to go. Better still, they can service it too, so it'll last for years. STIHL tools, only from STIHL dealers. There's 600 nationally. Find yours at stihl.com.au. Better still.
I really want one of those saws. Troy, can you get me one for Christmas?
I'll see what I could do, Marcus. MS661 coming up. I'll put it in your stocking.
I'll take it.
Stuffer.
And of course, now it's all about saws. It's the hot saw coming up. And as we've mentioned so many times before, this is the maker or the breaker.
This is the one. Looking at the individual competition, most of the time, it's the hot saw that makes the difference.
Yeah, probably the most important event, but yeah, also the most frustrating.
These saws are so incredibly powerful and dangerous.
Usually the hot saw is the slider.
Stand to your timber.
Hot saw, hot saw. Like I can't describe to you when we're out there under pressure.
Saw starts well, first disc looks solid. The cut is good.
You know, you're always ending the competition on a hot saw, so you know where you're going to be at when you finish. So you're either at a real big high or just is what it is.
Nice clean cuts, easy and relaxed.
Der Hot Saw ist für mich die geilste Disziplin der Welt.
5, 6, 8, Robert Abner, 3 on the deck.
Once the competition comes, anything can happen. Oh no, a false start by Sterling Hart. What a disaster.
Yeah, it was a disappointment for me. Happens though, it's part of competing.
I saw those 3 good discs there, but then they let that nose come right up underneath the cross over the line.
Fortunately, a disqualification.
It all relies on the hot saw.
If you have bad luck or if you did wrong, it's sport. Just
Oh my goodness. What an absolute disaster. The chain came off.
I was not disappointed because everybody see that I can be with the guys in front.
Yeah, it's the make or break event, you know.
I think you love and you hate it.
Try to make 3 good cuts and no disqualification.
The hot saw is where it's all won, so that's the best event.
Well, we see from round 2 the results from the springboard and how that affects the overall results, meaning the top 6 guys move on to round 3 and our King's Discipline, the hot saw. And that means Lawrence O'Toole, Braden Meyer, Glenn Gillum, Mitch Argent, Jamie Head, and Mr. Dingle. Brody Dingle will be in there, and we'll go in reverse order for the start list.
Oh yes, and we're very ready for this. I feel a little manly now. So everything you need to know about the hot saw coming up right here.
Hot saw. For the hot saw, power saws are called into action, and the athletes have a space of 15 centimeters to cut 3 complete discs off a 46 centimeter thick wooden block. Jumping the start or cutting over the line will result in a disqualification. These custom, handmade, race-tuned machines are built for maximum power and precision and to cut the wood as fast as possible in a competition. They are built with a 60 to 80 horsepower single-cylinder 2-stroke engine, often taken from a snowmobile or high-powered motorbike. The hot saw can weigh up to 30 kilograms and its chain rotates at over 250 kilometers an hour. The cost of a competition hot saw used in STIHL Timbersports is upward of €6,000.
It is time to find out who's going to be the STIHL Timbersports Virtual Australian Champion. It's time for the hot saw, and this is the starting order. In Heat 1, Brody Dingle. Heat 2, Jamie Head. Heat 3, Mitch Argent. Heat 4, Glenn Gillum. Heat 5, Braden Meyer. And last but not least, in Heat 6, Lawrence O'Toole.
Dingle, because he was ranked 6th in the overall before coming into this third and final round. He will be the first athlete to go in hot saw. His personal best is a very respectable 10:20, but these machines are so unpredictable. Anything can happen. So it is all about starting the saw clean and getting 3 cookies on the floor with no breaks at all. Dingle looks good so far for him. A little pause at the top to realign that saw, and he has got 3 on the floor and a great time of 8:42. That is a very solid time, a good personal best for him. He improves on his 10-second personal best from before, and he's got 3 good cuts, and he is good to go. He'll be happy with that no matter what happens in the competition today. And that one happened fast. See that great big blade comes up, he sets everything in place, and then it's about staying in alignment, not cutting through a cookie or over the line. Bit of a swing on that change and the transition from downstroke to upstroke, but on the upstroke transition on way it's down, it looks very good for Brody Dingle. A very nice time of 8:42. All right, so there you see 18 points are available for the guy with the fastest time in the hot saw, which is why they call this the make or break discipline, because in the overall standings, you could see those 18 points move Dingle from 6th place up into 2nd. Yeah, so if all of these other guys completely mess up their runs, theoretically, Lawrence O'Toole could walk away with the win and Brody Dingle a silver medal. You never know, right? But is that likely to happen? Probably not. So Jamie Head next up. Now, these guys usually do get a chance to warm up their saws beforehand, and you can see his personal best is 2 seconds faster than Brody Dingle's. So Jamie had definitely an advantage here in the hot saw, plus his experience plays a massive role in this one as well.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Wow, very thin first cookie. Thin to win is the key. That second one was massively thick, though. And the third cut looks good. Did he go over the line, though? He came real close at a 6.87. And he's just clearing that space for the judge to make sure, but it looks like he has cut through the cookie or gone over the line. And he is super disappointed as he throws his...
Cut is good.
He throws his earphones down in disgust. I don't know what happened, though. The cuts were good, and his time didn't seem too bad. Let's take a look here. Bit of a delay getting into the log. Really thin first cookie. Nothing wrong with that. Thin to win, as they say. The second cookie was a beast, though. You could hold a car in place with that thing. And then the third cookie, very close to the line. Doesn't look like he cut over it. The judge said the cuts were good, so that should be a counting cut. No problem there. And his time of 6.87 puts him in first place. I don't know why his disappointment and throwing down the headphones was so bad, though. Let's see. 18 points in the hot saw for Jamie Head, 6.87. Yeah, maybe it was just not what he expected. Jamie Head has the top spot in the overall standings for now. Brody Dingle moves down into third place. Mitch Argent up next. Mitch Argent had a similar personal best time than that Brody Dingle did coming into this. Maybe he'll improve on it as well.
Hands on the wood.
Stand to your timber.
All right, here we go.
3, 2, 1, go!
Took him a long time to pull that starter. Wow, thick second cookie lined up really gingerly, carefully for that third cookie, cut through it. He's got to do another one. He has barely any space at all to get that third cookie down. Oh my goodness. A 17.25 time in hot saw. There's a disappointed face right there. Cut through, I believe, that third cookie. Yeah, you could see it's not complete, so he had to reset.
An insufficient cookie.
Yeah, so he's got a DQ, and that's unfortunate for Mitchell Argent. Let's take a look at what happened here. It took him a long time to line up that first cookie. Yeah, there's the first cookie cut out. No, excuse me, that was his third cookie cut out. And then he had to go in. He didn't have enough space. Look at that right on the line. He just had no chance here at all. And he even chopped off the top edge of that third cookie. So there was really no opportunity for him. And this is one of the reasons why they say thin to win, because that middle cookie for him was absolutely massive, just like with Jamie Heads. So a DQ for Mitch Argent. Cut over the line is the reason why. 0 points. So he stays in third place after 3 athletes in the hot saw, and Mitch Argent is sitting in 6th place in the overall standings now.
Oh, wow. I really feel sorry for Mitch Argent. Let's find out from him what he thinks this is going to do to his overall ranking.
Oh, probably last place. I don't know, headache. Yeah, shiratsu. What else do you want?
Yeah, this really is the maker or the breaker, the hot saw. Troy, let's get back to the competition. It's time for our next heat.
All right, Glenn Gillum up next, and you can see him just making the last-minute checks of his saw. You can see a personal best for him is pretty solid. I mean, you got to be a big boy to control this saw, to be able to manage to get it up in line and position. You can see in those first 3 heats already what kind of a drama it is to move that huge, heavy motor saw into position to start your first cut.
3,
let's see how Glenn does.
1, go!
7.30, not bad. Very respectable. Fastest time so far. No, excuse me. Second fastest time in hot saw. 3 good cookies. And if we look back in the slow-mo later on, you'll see that second cookie was nice and thin. So that was important. And he's got 3 good cookies on the floor. So that's the difference maker for Glenn Gillum. Watch this here. Good start. And he's on the upstroke with that saw as he's pulling. And look at the lineup. Perfect alignment on that first cut. It's not overly thin, not overly thick. This is the important one here that we've seen all day on that second cut. Hopefully we'll get another view of it here. It's that second cut on the upstroke that should be nice and thin. And then you can see on the downstroke, he's got another thin cookie. So if there is a mistake made, he's still got 3 or 4 centimeters of block that he can go back up and cut with. So a very, very good cut from Glenn Gillum. He would like a better time, but he is in second place at the moment, just behind Jamie Head, and that means in the overall standings, he moves into the lead with 64 points. Braden Meyer up next. Check out that saw. That's about as custom as it gets. Now, Braden Meyer doesn't have the biggest love affair with this particular event, although his time of 7:43 is pretty solid. He's been working on it, and you know, obviously he's got the pretty sexy looking saw right there. Let's see if he can pull this one off and have a good time.
1, go!
Oh, great start. Braden Meyer not messing around with a 5.80. First place for him in hot saw. He just tore that to bits, and he has just ruined his personal best with a 5.80. Fantastic job by Braden Meyer. Watch this. Upstroke pull. The thing is running perfectly lined up. Bit thick on the first cut, but so what? Look at how nice it is. And barely a downswing on the changeover. And then that third cookie. And he's making no mistakes to make sure these cookies are thin enough, but not thin enough that they're going to break on hitting the floor. Good job by Braden Meyer with a fantastic time, 5.80. That puts him atop the hot saw rankings. And for the moment, he takes the 18 points home, which means in the overall, he should be on top with a bullet. Yes, 69 points. Lawrence O'Toole at 56 has to be absolutely rocket ship for his hot saw. So let's see if he can do it. Ooh, look at the personal best for O'Toole. You know that he has got this thing locked and loaded. He wants to have a good hot saw. The pressure is entirely on him at this point if he wants to have the win and take home the Australian Virtual Championships.
3, 2, 1, go!
Oh no! A huge mistake, a non-start. The pull cord came off completely, and that saw did not start. So he'll have to rewrap and restart just to get the points for the time. Let's see if he can make it happen here. Checks everything, gets it started, and here we go. All right, 26.59. That is third place for Lawrence O'Toole in the overall standings, and not the expected time that he wanted to have here in hot saw. The cuts were good, but the time was not. So for Lawrence O'Toole, that means he is sitting in 5th place after hot saw, or in the hot saw rankings. And you can see there, the chain did move on the first pull, but the engine didn't turn over. It didn't kick. The spark didn't take. And then when he finally got it going, his time was well and truly done for. But he did get a time, which means he will get some points, and that is important for the overall standings. All right, so hot saw ranking, Braden Meyer still on top because of Lawrence's time of 26.59. He'll sit down in 5th place, and Braden Meyer taking the full 18 points home here. And then we take a quick look at the overall standings. Lawrence O'Toole, by virtue of getting some points, actually moves into 2nd place with 62 points, just behind Braden Meyer, and Glenn Gillum has 3rd place. All right, here we see side by side. Braden Meyer was just that much quicker on the draw, 1 second better than Jamie Head. Jamie was upset by his results, but hey, good job by Braden.
That was really close, and the old Australian champion is the new virtual Australian champion. Let's take a closer look at the overall standing. So these are the final results. In position 12, we've got Chris Owen, 11, Josh Bakes. On 10, Brad DeLosa. 9, Daniel Gurr. 8, David Rumer. In 7, Cody Steers. 6, Brody Dingle. 5, Mitch Argent. 4, Jamie Head. And the top 3 in bronze, Glenn Gillum in silver, Lawrence O'Toole. And the gold medal goes to, as mentioned before, Braden Meyer. Congratulations to all athletes. And now it's time for a virtual winner's ceremony. So here is the bronze medalists of the 2020 Steel Timber Sports Virtual Australian Championship. Glenn Gillam. We move on to silver. And the silver medal goes to Lawrence O'Toole, ladies and gentlemen. Give him a big virtual hand. Troy and me were clapping in the studio. Well done. And now, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the old and new virtual Australian champion, Braden Meyer. Oh, there he is, the big man. Virtual Australian champion 2020. Well, now that the result is no secret to the world anymore, we can try to talk to Braden live. Braden, if you can hear me, congrats. And just one question. How does it feel to be the first virtual Australian champion?
Thanks, guys. Yeah, it's a pretty good feeling to win the first virtual champion. It's a different feeling than a normal championship, that's for sure, but it's a good honour to win as well.
Well, Braden, it's been your first time taking part in a virtual competition. Can we have a short feedback from your side?
Yeah, it's completely different. I'm one of them guys that thrive off the crowd during the competition as well and get the atmosphere going, and it always works in my favour, which is what I try and do. So it was definitely different, and not knowing your times or anything like that, that was the hardest thing, but to get the win at the end of the day was pretty good.
Well, thanks, Braden. It's been great talking to you. Any final words for the Steel Timber Sports community?
Yeah, no, it's good to talk to you guys as well. Yeah, just thanks Steel Australia for putting a competition on for us this year, and I know it was hard work for them as well, and to organise it all, it's a pretty big job. So yeah, congratulations to them, and just thanks all my family and everyone who helped me and support me back home. And yeah, just a message for everyone out there in the timber sports world: keep training, and yeah, hope to see you all soon, and hopefully we can have a world championships and a trophy next year. So yeah, keep training, and best of luck to everyone, and hope to see you in the near future.
Well, thanks very much, champ. Enjoy your night, and congrats again. From Troy and me, it's time to say goodbye. It's been an absolute pleasure. Hopefully everybody's gonna stay safe, and yeah, see you soon. Bye-bye.
Ciao. Virtual high five.
Yeah. very warm welcome to the first ever STIHL Timbersports Virtual Australian Championship. But what does virtual mean? Of course, we've got 12 real athletes competing in 4 different locations all across Australia, and we'll be recording all of them with identical video technology. And these videos, they will be sent to Munich, Germany, to me and our expert, Troy Mannering. Welcome, Troy. Nice to have you in the studio.
Hi, Marcus. Glad to be back again. Yeah, we're looking for a really interesting take on the STIHL Timbersports, this time the Australian Championships being virtual. We're going to see all these guys really working hard down there in split screen, and you're going to get to see the times that they have, but they don't know what time they've got, and we only get to see the times as we go along here. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see how this turns out, and yeah, it's a new way of doing things.
Yeah, these days they need new ideas, and I think that is something very special that we're looking forward to.
Yeah, I mean, Corona's made it really difficult with all the lockdowns and everything and travel restrictions, and the fact that we're still able to get a little bit of sport in here, it's great. But, you know, with all of these other things that are going on, you know, people's tensions are wound up. So,
yeah. And it's definitely very, very important to stay tolerant and to show respect. And yeah, take a look at this.
We are Timbersports.
United by passion for the sport.
And competition.
We chop down racism. And say yes to tolerance. Yes to tolerance.
Säg ja till tolerans.